Oh, my mic was off. Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another panel from Animation Appreciation Hub. This week we are talking about everything you need to know to do animation, the meat of it all. Everything we've been talking about over the last few weeks leads up to this. And today we have 5 fantastic panelists who are all in the midst of animation with us. First up, we've got Evan.
Hello. Nice to meet you all.
Do you want to tell us about yourself a little bit?
Oh, uh, I'm the creator of Lumi and the Great Big Galaxy. I like aliens and space, and I do a lot of things on the project.
That's perfect. All right. Thank you, Evan.
You're welcome.
Okay. Nato, you want to tell us about yourself?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm Nada, Neja, whatever you want to call me internet these days. Uh, I like making funny pictures go burr, and that's all I do. Thank
Okay.
you.
Perfect. Shannon.
Hi, my name is Shannon. I also go by Rose. I am the creator of Revamped, and I think vampires are really cool. Thank you.
I love how short and sweet you guys are with this. All right. Moa.
Hi, I'm Moa, but also called Baphomet the Clown. I'm the creator of Sinking Road, and I like to just make people laugh. That's all I live for.
Awesome. Okay. And Maud.
Hey, I'm Maud. I go by Monolith Online. I am one of the co-creators of Capapon Studios, and I'm the director and main producer of the series Hearts of Titan, proof of concept that we are working on together as a team. And also like Baldur's Gate. That's all I had to say.
Same. All right. Awesome. Yay. Thank you guys for doing that quickly because now we have more time to talk. All right. So this panel is going to follow a similar style and structure to the other two panels. We have a few topics that we're going to cover for 10 to 15 minutes each, and then we will be taking audience Q&A at the end. So if you have some questions you would like to ask our fantastic expertise panelists, then please save that for the last 15 minutes or so of the session, and we will put out a call for questions, and then we will answer as many as we can. So, first up, we are going to talk about growing an audience. How do you do outreach and marketing? What do you think are good strategies for getting engagement and getting your cartoon in front of more people? We would love to know. And I'll let any of you take the floor. We're just kind of going to pass the speaking stick, so to say, back and forth and host a conversation.
I'm just gonna give a heads up. I have a lot to say on this opinion. I love marketing, but I will let anyone else to take the floor first.
I will simply just say, from my own experience, because I don't know anything about marketing, but just kind of outreaching and like sort of growing an audience, it's just don't be afraid to, show off your work, you know? Like, don't be shy and like just push it out. Don't be afraid of what other people think. Just show the world what you've got, pretty much. Like that's my start on that, pretty much.
Okay. If anyone else wants to go, I
Oh,
I want to break it down. Oh, what's up?
can I try?
Absolutely.
So I think one thing to keep in mind is you need to have a good SEO, which I think stands for search engine optimization. Basically, when I posted my pilot, it didn't really get like a wide audience originally. So then I changed the title from originally it was Revamped Pilot, but then I changed it to Revamped Pilot parentheses BL Vampire Animation, and I think that helped it grow a little bit more. And then it just blew up like 10 months later. So I think using certain keywords is like really important.
Mhm.
Yeah, you kind of have to cater everything you post to the specific platform that you post on, since the algorithm works in shitty, mysterious ways. But
Yeah,
hey,
exactly. No one knows how it works. You just gotta be lucky sometimes, or like mess around with the waters.
gotta
See
fuck
what
around and
works
find
and
out.
see what doesn't.
All right. All right. fellas. So I just gotta say, disclaimer, I'm not professional in marketing. I just really like it as a topic, so I do a lot of personal research into it. But yes, Shannon's absolutely correct about having identifiable names. Characters is like branding, building that up. But something that I learned from just doing my own research and like doing testing on different social medias is understanding the algorithms and how they can vary across social media platform. And I know Kiki probably knows YouTube all too well, so I probably won't go too in depth about YouTube, but it's different across all platforms. The ones that I focus the most on is definitely Instagram and TikTok. And some of like the key features about TikTok is like how TikTok usually pushes your content to new people constantly. So therefore you get a lot of like new viewers, but it's very hard to like keep up like the same dedicated following. Whereas on YouTube and say like Instagram, it is easier to sort of like build up a dedicated audience and get recurring viewers back looking at your stuff. Um, for indie animation, that was like a really interesting thing for me to learn about how to market towards people who want to give money or like be invested in your project. And because of the scene is so new, there's no real rubric to how you should be building up your audience. Whereas in other scenes and other communities, they've been doing it for longer. So a good reference is to sort of look at how other communities brand themselves and how they make content and advertise themselves and how you can apply it towards your own project. And it's going to be different for every single person. Some of like the key features that I would recommend thinking about is what are your goals? What's your backstory? And what's your demographic? So backstory is like, are you a person? Are you a team? Um, Goals would be like, are you trying to make a pilot, a proof of concept? Are you trying to crowdfund? Is it a hobby? And demographic is like, what is the audience that you're trying to advertise yourselves to? And then when you think about your demographic, you think about what is the content that my demographic enjoys. Um, so for example, for my project, Hearts of Titan, we took a page out of the book for artists on Instagram who advertise their webtoons or webcomics. So we kind of analyzed and did a lot of research on how artists hook people into their webcomics and how they get invested audience members and people going back to their webtoons. And one of the things that we learned is like people really like the OC animatics and like when you kind of vague about their backstory and the characters. Um, People really like the narrative that you kind of have about not just the story, but also you as a creator. That was like a huge thing that we kind of realized is that it's not just your project. A lot of people like knowing about the people behind the projects. Like the biggest growth that we've ever gotten online is when we sort of talk about we're just a ragtag group of people trying to like make a dream happen with nothing but like duct tape and blood, sweat, and tears, man. And like it does really well because people relate to that and they can see themselves in you and want to root for you and support your project. And like just kind of like advertising not just your project, but like you and the people behind it was something that we realized could help us a lot in terms of like getting people invested in it. Um, oh man, there's like so much, but I think Instagram was like the big one for us, but I also know that like it's good to do like testing on different social medias. Like for us, it's like just me running social media, or it's like like two people. So I definitely recommend doing testing across platforms and seeing what sticks for you, like what works the best for your bandwidth and what you're capable of doing. Because of course you can be broad and post across all social platforms, but that can be really draining. So sometimes it's like okay to sort of like go through different social medias, and then if you find like there's one that really is the most comfortable for you or the one that works the best for you, try and like just put all of your effort into that and like posting on that social media. Unfortunately, like it just takes a lot of work, like a lot of content that you need to be consistent with, and like trying to analyze like what days of the week are the best to post, like what times of day is the best to post, like what tags are good, and what's trending, what's the trending audio on TikTok and Instagram that I can like make this funny little like character reel to, just stuff like that. If you don't want to make like a full-blown like YouTube short or reel or TikTok that's like new content where you do a little animatic, another thing that's like easy to make would be like whatever content that you're making of your project, like whatever viz dev or animation or storyboards that you might have, put it in like a little compilation, like put it in like a little like montage and then add a caption of like just me making this little funny show, me against the world, having a blast. Just like I'm making a cartoon, and then people see that and it's like, wow, they're making a cartoon. That's awesome. Just like kind of like build up that hype. And another huge thing is tropes. Like if you want to play into tropes, people really eat that stuff up. I had someone reach out to me recently and was like, I don't draw, I don't animate, but I have an idea. How do you think I should advertise or market my idea online to gain interest? And I'm like, take a page out of how self-published authors market themselves online. Like if you have an idea, try and like analyze like what is your skill set and how can I work around that skill set. So like let's say you have a cartoon idea that you need help with, or like you have other people working on with you, but you yourself can't draw or animate. Um, I would say kind of analyze like how Book Talk does it, or how like self-published authors do it, and like see how they do well with just like advertising their literal like just a premise of a book, and sometimes it can go viral. But sort of like understand what your scope is, like what you're capable of or what you have the capacity to do and what are your goals, and then sort of look around at adjacent communities because a lot of the time they've already have it figured out. Meanwhile, animation, especially indie animation, is still a growing community, and there's still like no real set understanding of like how we should be putting ourselves out there. But I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. I love looking at like data and analytics and breaking it down. It's cool for me.
Slay.
Yeah. Like, funny, relatable is number one in terms of getting like an audience. Like, if you look at Studio Flimbo and how they literally posted like one
They're
TikTok
killing it.
Instagram reel,
That's
and they got like
that's so fun.
they got like 100K followers off that, and it's purely because they advertise themselves, and they're funny and they're relatable, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like, holy,
Yeah, it's like if you put yourself out there, it's like that bleeds into your work. So it's like people will be interested, and it shows through. It's great.
Really good breakdown.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Evan, did you want to add anything? I know you haven't really spoke to this
Um.
topic too much yet.
Oh. For me, I kind of just spent a lot of time, um, just building an audience by talking about my characters a lot. Because before Lumi was a pilot, it was a webcomic, and before it was a webcomic, I just spent a lot of time talking about my OCs and just posting them everywhere, to the point where they essentially had a dedicated tab on Tumblr, and eventually expanded that into like a huge search result. And even now, you can see like if you look up Lumi and the Great Big Galaxy, a lot of that stuff is from me because I just was basically my own audience. I basically just talked about my OCs for fun. And as Lumi sort of grew, I kind of expanded onto that, um, by using that to my advantage. And I'm still figuring out marketing for and how to make it work, but I basically use that as a stepping stool to kind of like help me out with that. But I think before you market to anybody else, I think the most important market is towards yourself, and that way you can expand it to future audiences.
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
like
I feel that.
all those
Spilling about
OC
my
anime,
OCs all the time.
yeah, all those OC animatic YouTubers. You're on a prime spot right now. You have that
Oh
audience and
yeah.
all that interest. If you want to make a series, go for it.
People will love your OCs as much as you love them.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, do you guys have any more thoughts on growing an audience, or we can move on? Sounds like we're good to move
I'm
on.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you guys. That was awesome. Okay. Now we want to talk about learning to animate. So we got some questions, and I know you guys were interested in talking about self-teaching. Some people wanted to know did you go to school for animation, or how did you teach yourself? What resources did you use? All that type of stuff. So I guess for this one, maybe we could kind of go down the list of who's here and just have each of you tell us a little bit about how you learned. And then we can do a discussion of resources and such. We can start with Evan.
Okay, yeah. I Animation has been a huge part of my life, for basically all my life. I remember when my uncle would uh show me episodes of The Simpsons and Futurama that he would pirate on his old ass computer, and we would essentially just watch them together. Um, and laugh at them. And that was basically where I guess you could say my quote unquote career in animation started. Um, he used to have at the local cinema in our hometown. He used to have these little days where he would showcase this little animatic type of thing that he would create, and he would showcase it to the local theater. It was just like a bunch of silly skits that were definitely for adults and not for children. He brought me along to watch them because he knew I liked them, and I would always suggest ideas to him. And he was actually the person who gave me my first drawing tablet and a copy of Macromedia Flash 5, I believe. Um, and he would spend a lot of time teaching me how to animate. Um, and everything that I did not get from my uncle, I got from YouTube. I would watch a lot of cartoons on um YouTube. I would watch like old cartoons from like Newgrounds. Like I used to watch like Zero. He was a huge inspiration back then. Still is. But I remember watching him a lot. Ed's World. I used to watch them a lot. Um, and I think like when I got into cable TV, when we had it, Wander over Yonder was definitely just kind of invigorated that spark that made me love animation again. Because I hadn't animated in a while, I don't focus on drawing, but everything that I know about animation, I basically taught myself. Um, I kind of spent a lot of time going frame by frame studying how they did how uh animators did animation with timing and stuff like that. um I got the Richard Williams book animation book for Christmas that I used, and another book that I got from my uncle regarding timing and animation. I got Simpsons production sheets from my uncle that he had that talked about animation, uh, the process, and the do's and don'ts, and what goes on in the storyboards. And that's basically how I do it. I'm still learning and practicing, and I'm a little rusty since I haven't done it in a very long time. Lumi is my first venture into jumping back into animation after a long time. But yeah, that's that's basically how I learned how to do it.
Fantastic, Maud.
Yeah, so my canon event was watching Splash Kitty Artist on YouTube back in like
Oh my god, Smash Kitty Artist
2007.
shakes your hand.
Yeah, I discovered animation just from other YouTubers and like small artists online, and it was specifically this animator, Splash Kitty Artist, who made like a video that was like how I animate, and then they're like, I use Toon Boom and I do this, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that you can do this by yourself. Like this is something that anybody can learn and just make. So I eventually was able to get Toon Boom and then sort of work my way up. I used to practice a lot and in like Photoshop and I had Sony Vegas and all this stuff, and it was really, really fun. So for I want to say like maybe 10 or so years since I was a kid, I would do like rough animation and just try and make like little shorts. I never really posted most of them, but it was definitely like small communities online that would make original content, like the ones that would make like the fanimes, like the fan-made animes online. And yeah, exactly, right?
Yes. Oh my
It's
god.
yeah, that was my canon event, was discovering like the small communities of people who just make original stories, like through like even just like MS Paint or like whatever art program that they had. And it was like the ones with like the wolves and like the cats and stuff like that. Like it was so much fun. But that's when I learned how to do it, and that was kind of like my introduction to just original content online, which probably adapts it into indie animation. Go figure. But then I graduated high school and I wanted to go to an art college. I never actually went to art school, and I decided to sort of just do it on my own, like do freelancing. And I jumped headfirst and worked at like different jobs, like different odd jobs doing freelance. And then I just sort of like got into different specialties. So originally, I wanted to be a rough animator. I thought that was going to be my dream job. Uh, then turns out I'm just better at cleanup and comp. So that was something that I sort of self-discovered after working on different jobs and like just building up my portfolio in my own time. So now my full-time job, or like my usual job, would be compositing, and that's what I specialize in these days, is After Effects comp. When I first started off in rough animation, and that's something that is something that a lot of people experience when they pick up a hobby and they want to turn it into a profession. Is sometimes like the thing that you break into isn't always the thing that you're going to stick with, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that kind of happens over time, and it's a natural progression. But yeah, that's how I got into animation.
Awesome. Moa, do you want to tell us?
Yes. So I always sort of grew up on old animated movies and stuff. That was always just sort of what I preferred. And just animated movies in general and everything, and cartoons and stuff. Either I would watch them on TV or I would watch them on 240p YouTube when that was a thing. So I would do that, and eventually it's sort of like, I think also because of like discovering communities for it online from like drawing, but also like funny enough, like I was also like inspired off of seeing Serial on Newgrounds and stuff, for example, getting getting inspired to actually give it a go. Um and I would say probably my first community was like the fanime community, because I just watched like a lot of that stuff and I was like, "Oh wow, I really want to do that." But for like, actually I guess professionally, quote unquote, animating, I was just self-taught. Like I went to a high school for a little bit for animation, but due to like mental illness reasons, I had to drop out. But I would say I'm like 90% self-taught, and the rest is just like going to that school and actually kind of learning some things, because we got to animate frame by frame on one of those light boards with the paper, which was really cool. um and just eventually I did get myself a animation program. I got Toon Boom, and ever since then I've just been using that. And I think um when I actually started to take it so seriously that I would like animate um pretty much almost every day as I do now, is like I just I just got inspired, like in the I know that my current fiance at the time said that it wanted to see one of my stories at the time with a bunch of characters uh be made into a series, and that was like the beginning to of the end, because ever since then I've just been literally working on huge projects and animating, trying to animate pretty much every day. um so yeah, that's my origin story.
That's awesome. Thank you. Netta, you want to tell us?
Yeah, so you do not need school. Like, if you want to go to school, use it well for networking resources of what the school offers, and if you want to get a visa. But other than that, all you
Real.
need is just going on YouTube, searching up the 12 Principles of Animation by Alan
Oh
Becker,
yes.
and then just like going through Sakuga Buro, going frame by frame and analyzing where the motions are emphasized, aka the slowest movements, and where those motions are much quicker, which is quick movements, and it means like you don't need to draw as much, but your timing and spacing is what matters. So you want to grab all these resources and you want to hammer in your instinct and like intuition of observational physics, because what you're doing is basically mimicking real life and enhancing it. My personal journey, I guess, is that I made my funny pirated copy of Flash CS6 or whatever. Uh, yeah. Then I started really when I was like in year 7, and I'm pretty much self-taught. So what I would do is that I would like just try to make a bunch of shit, and then I sort of like used little animation competitions to force myself to make stuff. So I made my first little short film when I was 14 or something, and it took me like 9 months to do like a minute and a 30 of animation. But then when I reached year 11, and I had like for my media final, I was supposed to do like a live action, but then at the last 2 weeks because of COVID, I just like fuck it, I'm switching mediums, and I went to animation, and I submitted a 1 minute 30 of animation in 2 weeks. Because it's just you have to just keep improving as you go and figure out ways to increase your efficiency while not while not getting rid of like your quality is really where it's at and stuff. And it's just you if you do 2D animation, learning how to animate versus learning how to draw are entirely different skill sets. But it's just something you gotta do in tandem, and it's a long journey. So in regard, so uni, you really don't need it. Like if you're fortunate to be in like a country where your industry is like thriving or like is growing, then just honestly, just teach yourself. There's so many people in the industry who just taught themselves and now like gods. Like I like yeah. when at the end of like towards the tail end of my high school, I got my first full-time job in like flying buck, and it was just because I it's just self-teaching your skills and then being like, oh shit, you know what, maybe I'll just apply to this and see if I get in, because if I get in, validation. If I don't, that means I know I need to improve somewhere. And one thing leads to another. You just get what you want. In this industry, you kind of have nothing to lose by doing what you want. And I end up leaving it for uni though for like 6 months, but uni was so bad. 4 week rotations, doing like different mediums on the surface level. What was my student debt for, man? So I ended up leaving that, and now I'm back in the industry, and it's going sick.
Great. Okay, Shannon?
You want my personal story or
Yeah. How'd you learn to animate?
Do you guys remember Flipnote Studio for the DSi?
Yes.
Yes.
Bro, that was my program. I used to use it all the time. I used to post my stuff on the online service they used to have, but then they shut it down in 2013, so I kind of phased out of that. And then in 2016, I got my first drawing tablet, and I downloaded Adobe Animate, I believe, and I just taught myself how to use that software. It was great. I loved using it, although it kind of sucks and it crashes a lot. And then I want to say in 2018, when I was a freshman in college, we still did not have Toon Boom at the time. We were still using Adobe Animate. But then the following year, when I became a sophomore, we finally got Toon Boom, right? And like I was so happy, but then I realized that Toon Boom's only being taught to the freshman level classes, so I kind of missed out on learning how to use Toon Boom. So I had to teach myself, which I guess wasn't too bad because there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm proficient with these 3 softwares now. So yeah, that's my story.
Cannot live
Cool. I
without
see
Toon Boom
some
at this
love for
point.
Flipnote in the chat. So am I right in saying that you guys are all self-taught?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
That's
much.
really cool. That's really cool that everyone in this panel, didn't have to go to school for this to be making amazing work. Wow.
See, school is useless.
I'm an animation school dropout, so you guys make me feel better about that.
Same.
Let's
Well, not animation
go.
art school, but yeah,
Yeah.
drop out.
The club.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, but I heard I heard you mention it, Nesha, that the 12 principles of animation tutorial. Oh my god, that saved my life. I was
Yeah, that's literally
watching
all you
that
need.
like yeah, I've been like watching that continuously, and every time somebody asks me like, "So, how do I get started to animate?" I just link that.
Yeah, like I bought the Richard Williams book and I looked at it for like 5 seconds and then just never looked at it again because all I needed was that video.
Exactly. It is literally the best. It's so good. And it's really easy to like just find and try it out for yourself because it works for any animation style. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. All right. Thank you guys for telling us your story. Each of you. Now we want
You're
to talk about
welcome.
the animation process. So I know there's some interest in discussing preparation, how you get ready to animate, what tools you're using to animate, although I think we've covered that a bit already. And then I know there was interest in also talking about retake animation and how redoing art plays into the process. So I'll let anybody take the floor on this one. You guys can go ahead.
A lot of us use Toon Boom. That- That's what I'm getting at this. But is it Toon Boom or is it Toon Boom Harmony?
Harmony,
I just say Toon
technically.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I have Harmony as well. I don't really know the difference because I've never tried normal Toon Boom.
Like Toon Boom Studio?
Yeah, just
Oh my
I've only
god.
used Harmony, so I don't know the difference.
I like pirated that a bit ago because I think there was this animator, I think their name was Empty Feet. And yeah, they used it and I was like, fuck, I want to use it too.
So
Compared to
fair.
nowadays, but yeah.
Uh,
Sweet. I think one of us was talking about naming conventions and like drives and setups for that for organization.
Oh
Was
yeah.
that yeah, okay.
I don't remember if I was actually the one that said, but yeah. You have to do a lot to prepare for the animation process itself. It kind of borderlines on like the production management things, but if you get it done early, your life will be so much easier in the long run, especially if you work with people. So like setting up like shot trackers, understanding what your file naming conventions are, and keeping them consistent. Like, oh, episode name, and then scene number, shot number, version 1, and who did it, the initials, etc. It just keeps it all nice and not terrible when you download all the files and have to organize them again in your own local PC.
Yeah,
And
I
just
actually think
yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go.
I was gonna plug the lovers for making that publicly accessible like spreadsheet breakdown or the guide because I think they had actually made it public for download to sort of like have like this whole like spreadsheet outline for if you want to make an animation production. So if that's something that people are interested as a resource, I know that Studio Heartbreak has that accessible. Um, there might be other stuff like guides from them, but I'm not 100% confident on that. Um, definitely in terms of animation production, my specialty would be like cleanup and comp, and some things that is essential when you're trying to figure out how to rough animate and clean up something is how it's going to look in After Effects, like how you're going to comp it, which can boil down to like even like the early stages of production and how the pre-prod affects the post-prod. One thing that I learned over time was how important colors are, especially when you're doing like character design and cleanup, because a very useful tool for comp is keying. So like color selection, if you want to apply effects to certain colors on a character. Um, but typically that means like you're color extracting. And so like when you're even way before comp, when you're designing the characters, you're gonna look at the colors and be like, all right, well, these are the colors. So but the thing is that there can be certain um issues when like you don't figure out exactly what colors you're going to be using for comp. So like let's say you have a character who is like has like a black fill, like they have like a shirt that's completely black, maybe the same exact like color as the line art, and like you plug that into After Effects for comp, and then you realize that when you do like a line art extract, you're also extracting the fill on their shirt, and you're like, oh no, well, if I try and apply effect, that's gonna mess up the line art now. So what's something that I kind of learned is like being very like specific and particular about the color designing for characters, because you never know like what you're gonna need to sort of extract or change on like when you're doing post production and After Effects. And like cleanup is important too. Like some things that we learned over time, and this varies between production to production, is like things like exports. Like if you're exporting from Toon Boom, okay, are you using PNG sequences? Are you using TJ sequences? Typically it's going to be like a PNG sequence. And then when you're plugging that in, you're like, do I want the colors separated from the lines, or am I using a plugin that extracts the lines automatically? So do I want to just skip that extracting plugin and just export the lines straight from Toon Boom? It's like stuff like that that are very, very small and can be very useful when you get into like the technicalities of like putting everything together. Um, and then I think I've briefly was interested in talking about retakes, because retakes was not something that I got super used to until I started working more often in the industry. Where and this is something that you often see again in post production, is like when you have animation and like the backgrounds, it is all done. It's all clean. It is ready to go. But then you're putting the sequence together, you're putting the scenes next to each other, then you notice that like, oh, this model looks a little different from these two shots. Like this is a little off model, or maybe this character can be touched up a little bit, or this background isn't hooking up with this background. So then typically what you want to go back and do is redo the background or revise it or change the animation, or even do things like that were never there before. Like what if you're like, I just want effects, I want to make effects animation and plug that in. Retakes are super common. It is something that like I probably want to like emphasize for people who are newer to the scene or just trying to get into production, that it is totally normal to fix things during like the end stages of production. Like if you need to make like small revisions, it is no problem. It happens all the time. So like never feel like just like uncomfortable or bad about the fact that like maybe things just need to be like touched up a little bit or fixed. Retakes, there's like entire teams of people dedicated to retakes, and it's something that like is like definitely seen a lot on like the post production side and comp. But that's sort of where I focus on. I know that there's also other super important parts of production like background art and animation and storyboards, all that sort of stuff. It blows my mind. Like background art specifically, it blows my mind. I love seeing people's backgrounds and seeing all put together in a shot. It is actually like amazing. Same for effects animation. You never realize how much effects can plus up a shot until you start working in effects and like adding them into shot. It sincerely can cause, or I guess enhance the like ambience of a shot, or just pull everything together to feel like it's more grounded in the environment. It's super cool.
So what I want to talk about on my end is with the animation process is because I don't have a studio behind me. So I wanted to like talk about what if you're the only person doing all of the animation process. So I wanted to briefly talk about that as well. just from my own point of view, um, having to be the person to sketch it, keyframe it, um, in between it, color it, add the backgrounds, all of that, all of that jibby jabby, it's it takes a lot of willpower and motivation and time. It's like it's very obvious and it makes sense why having people with you to help you out is most beneficial. But if it is not in your cards or in your you know in your money, because you should pay your animators, it's like sometimes you have to work on your own, and that's perfectly fine. You just have to work within the time that you have. And I usually go by this a lot, where um motivation isn't really born from nothing. So it's like you have to sort of work first to get motivated to continue working. um and it's like, obviously you shouldn't be working your absolute soul off, but it's like, do what you can and be happy with the process you're making. It's gonna be a slow go, but it's all gonna be yours and you're gonna be in control of everything. um and in a way, it's like you're kind of learning as you go, and it helps a lot. And you know there's gonna be parts where, for example, it's like I love in betweening and I love keyframing, but I absolutely hate coloring and I absolutely hate doing the backgrounds. But I kind of have to, and that's fine. It's like you learn to live with it, and it feels worth it in the end because you create a scene and it's all by your own hands and it's great. So I would say it's worth it. Just work within the time span that you have. Don't stress yourself out, but just know motivation isn't going to be born from anything unless you kind of push yourself to get motivated. um you're going to kind of get in a rhythm. Make yourself like a schedule in your head, or with the reminders or whatever, and just work when you can, and slowly you're going to find it's going to be easier for you to work, and that you're not going to feel like you're having to force yourself. That's what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, I'd like to circle back a bit to just like the pipeline and preparing for it. Because what you want to avoid is bottleneck it at all costs. So the pipeline, like the animation pipeline, it can be split into a lot or small steps. Well, not always small, like more condensed. So like some pipelines in the industry, they go from rough animation straight to cleanup, and that each of those steps encompasses different other little steps. Like rough animation, maybe that means doing both the roughs and the tie downs, and cleanup means doing the lines and the color. But sometimes other industries they split it up, so you'll be like doing someone will do character layout, you do the rough animation, someone does tie down, etc. And yeah, just depending on how many steps you decide to split your pipeline into, you have to prepare for all of them. So for us in Heathens, we do a lot of stuff via Google Drive, so we host all our files on that, as well as using a lot of spreadsheets to keep everything organized and automate a lot of data. So we have a giant shot tracker, which is what is like the main point of, oh, what am I doing? Where do I get the like props? Where do I get the assets from? And what stage am I at? Who was doing what? That's yeah, that's where we go for. And a lot of shots, like they'll have like a little drop down menu, be like, oh, what rough stage? So if we select that, now another piece of data will automatically update saying, oh, now we're one more shot into roughs or whatever, and then give me a percentage of, like a total percentage of the completion of the whole thing. So that's kind of just to make yourself a bit more satisfied because funny numbers, but it's also just to help people that are working with you know what's happening at all times on like a live scale, I guess, and just so you personally can keep track of the whole film. Yeah, and file preparation itself. So if you work with Toon Boom, and if you happen to use Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, you can actually export all of your scenes into Toon Boom Harmony files automatically. Like it'll just split all the animatics up if you like split up all the scenes properly. And that's why I never ever want to manually create Toon Boom files ever again when it comes to storyboarding. Yeah. So that's really nice for animatic splitting. I'm so sorry to anyone who can't use Storyboard Pro. Uh and yeah, the file prep sometimes I know in some productions they will have like production assistants or people to go in and add all the refs they want to a Tumen file. So like, look at me, tiny little in betweener, going into this file, and then suddenly I'm waiting like 2 hours because it's loading up like 50 ref files and and a lot of linking and yeah. So like, if you have the time, yeah, I would recommend like going in and putting the refs in there because sometimes people don't do it for themselves. But, at, but on an individual scale, if you're like an animator, you should probably just get the refs and slap it into that file so that you can keep things on model. What else? Yeah, in the Google Drive, like I would recommend making folders for every shot. So basically, if I have like shot 30, whatever, and here's the original animation file, the rough animators can take it, do the work, and when they're done, they put it back in that file. So that when the cleanup artist needs to go find it, they know exactly where it is and what's the latest version, and they just yoink it and put it back later. And it's all nice and cool and epic. Yeah, and in regards to like approaching feedback on it, like if you're the lead and you need to give feedback just to make sure everything's on model, keeping it all cool and epic, for animation at least, I would recommend using something like Sync Sketch. Like personally, I use that because you can like give notes on a frame by frame level. So if like suddenly I see like one frame where the guy's hair is just across the screen, I can circle it and write a note saying, "Hey, can you like put this back in this guy's head?" And then people will be like, "Yeah, now I know where to find it. It's on frame 50," and I just go into my Toon Boom file, look for frame 50, bam, bam, there it is. And you just write really detailed notes on it. And it's very poggers. And yeah, it's just making sure you do all this housekeeping stuff, keeping the shot tracker updated, keeping all your refs updated, like using if you have production Discord, keeping all of that tidy, and yeah, that's what you can do to help the animation process not bottleneck itself and delay forever. Yay!
It's funny you mention refs because a lot of the time you don't realize how many refs you need until you're animating it. It's like, oh my gosh, I should have drawn this like microphone from like different angles to figure this out. There's so many like prop design things that you need when you're animating props and things like that. But it's nice that you mentioned the bottlenecking thing because like it's really important for departments to be working and communicating well with one another.
Yeah, for sure. And like, especially since if you have if if the character designer happens to have made like a full turnaround where like oh 3/4 back view, 3/4 back, etc. Honestly, dude, just like trace the ref if you really can't get it on model. Like I promise you, all industries they like not all industries, like everyone in this industry, if they can, they will trace the model. it's
Yeah, so true.
it's pretty normal.
That makes me realize like how different it is to work alone on all the animation process and working with a team. Because working with a team, you actually have to like put thought into like I guess like how you're wording things and how you're putting things and organizing things. But my folder is an absolute goddamn mess because as long as I understand it, that's fine with me. Plus it's like I can just skip certain processes because I'm not really having other people to communicate what I want, and stuff. So it's like it's interesting to hear it from like um the point of view of like somebody who works with other people on the same production versus like, oh, I'm on my own. It's like, yeah, benefits. I can like skip certain things, but the other thing is like it's all chaotic, and if somebody saw my folder, they would cry. Uh, in the industry, like somebody in the industry saw it, they would cry.
No, you're so real for that. It's good.
Yeah, for sure. Like, since you're working alone, you can just do whatever you want. As long as you understand it, it's all poggers.
Yeah, just make it up as you go. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
go
also
around, find out.
like it is also like a huge like I really like I find it very admirable to like be able to like work in a group on a single project. Like I think that's super cool.
Oh,
If I could, I
collaboration is so
would.
much fun.
Yeah.
Before, like, we wrap up, I do also wanna say, like, deadlines, kind of important. If you're working with a team, it's good to set up, like, a schedule and a deadline, just for, like, the general gist of when you wanna hit things and when you wanna finish things up. Even for most departments, you're gonna have to deal with, like, a schedule and, like, a tracker for that. Just, like, even if you're working with a smaller team and, like, it is okay to go back in and, like, fix things, even with, like, things like retakes, um or like cleanup or whatever, you still it's really nice to have like set deadlines. So like even if like things happen, you can still look back and be like, wow, we hit that, we made that. It's also just good to like just wrap it up and not have to touch it anymore. It's nice to just set that aside and be like, this is done. We can move on. Or else you'll always be trapped in that sort of loop of like trying to like
Mhm.
continue working on things, making it perfect where it doesn't necessarily need to be because animation never perfect. You're always gonna find something in like an episode or a movie or anything. It's never gonna be 100% the exact way that you see it from the the first vision of what your project's gonna look like. I know for me, especially for us, like our project does not look like what it was gonna look like from stage one. Which it's kind of cool seeing animation adapt and change over time, which
Oh
I think
my
is
god,
also the
yeah.
beauty of like animation, especially like with collaborations, like getting other people's input and like their twist and like perspective on things and how they draw and how they animate and how it shines in the work is really fun. It's honestly gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I've noticed with my scenes because um it's like because of how long it's taken, it's like I've improved over time. And it's like if I were to go back and like, like fix the things like that I've improved on, I would just be in an endless cycle. So it's like why not just move on and like enjoy it for what it was, because yeah, it's like you're not never gonna be like truly satisfied if you're just gonna go back and fix the things that you weren't as good at doing now, or like you didn't want it to look this perfect way, because yeah, as you said, it's never gonna be perfect. um in a way, it's fun to just see how it evolves, as you said, you know. Mhm.
Exactly. It's great. I love animation.
Yeah,
Yay!
same,
Yeah.
same. Oh.
Yeah, just circling back to what Mod said, like having deadlines and stuff, I would recommend like putting these deadlines somewhere. Like, for example, have a Trello with all your calendars, all your dates for things that are due. Or like Kitsu, Asana, uh, hell, just having like a dedicated channel on Discord with writing all of your timeline shit. Or if you know how to use spreadsheets, or I'll honestly just learn it. It's so useful. Like just slap everything on spreadsheets, like all your information, anything you can automate. Oh my god, I don't ever have to think again because spreadsheets will do it for me. Yay!
Codeon's
Thank God for
like
spreadsheets.
such a change. Like, oh, what's up?
I just said thank God for spreadsheets.
We love spreadsheets.
Oh yeah. I actually have never used spreadsheet.
You're a god. You're. Oh my God.
Well, I want to learn.
You're
You're
built
too
different.
powerful.
You're built different, yeah.
Well, it is 2 a.m., you know.
Oh my God.
So, in the name of it being 2 a.m., I think this is a good place to move on. Thank you guys for your knowledge share on the animation process. Our last topic today is compositing. And again, I'm just going to let you guys take the floor. We'll cover this for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to take questions from the audience. So, dear audience, if you have questions for our fantastic panel of animators, please go ahead and drop those in the chat, and I will start copying and pasting them, and we'll pick a couple to answer. Thank you. Go ahead, guys.
Very bright colors make my eyes go burr. That's how I work.
Hire Adobe After Effects or do it in Toon Boom Node View.
You already know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I know.
I
I was just waiting.
Waiting for the mod drop.
Yeah. So I was the one that was like, can we please have a section of talking about comp? Because my whole gimmick is I love compositing. So, backstory, I've done comp for about 4 different shows. I've worked at Powerhouse and did some really cool stuff on a lot of different projects. Doing lead comp for Jordan's pilot Port by the Sea. Go check it out when it comes out. But yeah, I love comp and I want to talk a little bit about it because it's something that's sort of like just becoming more prevalent in the indie scene more lately as more resources are coming out and becoming more available. For a very long time, comp was harder to break into just because of how much it lacked resources online. But luckily, there's been a lot of really cool people making really insightful and informational little tutorials about comp. So I want to talk a little bit about it because it's very fun. I know a lot about it. I love comp. But when it comes to compositing, there's definitely a lot of different options that you can have. So, of course, I specialize in After Effects, but it's not just After Effects. You can comp in Blender or in Nuke or in Toon Boom. Unfortunately, I'm not super aware of how Toon Boom comp works, but I know that you can just do as much as you can in Toon Boom as you could in like After Effects or Nuke and so on. But it's really important. It's for one of the biggest things that I learned about compositing, especially, is readability. That's something that we focus heavily on in post production. Is how shots read. What is the audience focusing on? How can I enhance a shot and push it so that the audience is looking at the exact things that I want them to look at, shot for shot, and that's depth of field and that's value. Those are the two most important things that I've learned over time of like lighting scenes and like working with like different types of shots and how they should read across the screen. A very useful trick when you're compositing is, if you're working in After Effects at least, I would recommend having an adjustment layer at the very top and have like a black and white filter on that. So whenever you're compositing and lighting a scene, you can pop that filter on and look at all of the tones and values just completely black and white. And that's how you can see the values very clearly and say like the characters in the foreground and the background both are midtones and you're like, oh yucky, that's not really reading as well. So what you'd probably do is like push the background back, which is like popping a levels adjustment layer or just straight onto the background and then adjusting the levels so that it's darker. Or like if you want actually something in the background to be what the audience is focusing the most on, you might want to darken the foreground or the characters in the foreground, and you want to maybe lighten something in the background. Same with depth of field. Like let's say you want to do like a camera change, or like you want the audience to view something in the background instead of the foreground. You would play around the depth of field, add blurs. Sometimes it's not always necessary, but times it can really make it look cinematic and really push like again the depth of field in a shot. Um, Another thing that I learned really quickly as I worked in more productions is how important timing is and how things can change in post than they were initially. One thing that I learned very quickly is retiming. So if you want to definitely would recommend checking out how time remapping works. It's basically when you want to change the timing. Like let's say the lip sync is a little bit off, and you're like, okay, well, guess I have to go back in Toon Boom and reanimate that. You don't have to. You just pop the time remap on it and then play and key it, and then you can play around with the keys. There's probably more in-depth tutorials about how all of that works. But again, thankfully, there have been way more tutorials coming out recently about how comp works, and it's really, really useful. I know for me specifically, I learned a lot from, I think it was Sarah or Serval, who was the initial compositing supervisor for Helava, and I think they're doing like technical directing work at Disney. Not quite sure. It's been a hot minute, but I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot from other people. Just really helpful stuff. I know that there's a lot of of stuff that you can find from overseas. Like there's definitely animation compositing tutorials for different anime, which is a huge thing. If you're trying to animate or make an anime-esque indie animation, learn about aliasing. Aliasing is such a huge thing, especially for when you're trying to make like anime-esque looking like animation, is learning about how aliasing works and how anti-aliasing works. Um, that's something that you kind of learn in comp, where like you animate your animation like completely pixelated. So when you do key selection or color keying in comp, you can have like 100% perfect color accuracy when you're keying out stuff, because key lighting and doing like lighting in general is a huge thing in compositing in After Effects. You learn like a lot about stuff like isolation. That's a huge thing for comp, is knowing how to do like keying. And like of course like other things like ring lights, ramps, gradients, really cool stuff. The thing that I focus most again is readability, so that the values are perfect and that you can understand and like see very clearly what you should be focusing on, shot for shot. But yes, I think I've talked a little too much about comp, but it is very fun.
There's never enough. Keep going. Just kidding. God, that's awesome though. It's like I didn't really think much about my own compositions. So now I'm just like, maybe I should check the actual values, because I check the values on my character designs, but not on my animations. Maybe I should.
Oh, it's like it depends on like productions. Like some productions have very minimal compositing, while others have like
Yeah.
extreme comp. Like everything's composited and lit. It's wild. I know like it's like very heavily like seen in like different anime. And of course like Powerhouse does like really in-depth compositing. But of course like a lot of other cartoons, they just like pop a rim light on and call it a day. Totally fine. Totally valid.
Just like be for real.
Does anyone else want to offer their thoughts on compositing before we move to audience questions?
That's all I've got.
I guess Maud taught me everything I knew, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah, we can definitely do an in-depth panel, a deep dive panel on compositing in the future, and have Maud talk to us more about the process. I think that'll be awesome. So now we're going to move into audience questions. I saw a few were sent in the chat, so thank you guys for that. So Bree wants to know, what would each of you say is the most difficult part of the animation process? So we can maybe just go down the list and each of you can just give us like a minute long answer. So Evan, what do you think is the most difficult part?
Oh God, what isn't the most difficult part? For me personally, I'd say the thing before keys. I can't think of the word, but that's the most difficult part for me. I always struggle with that.
Difficult part for me, like me personally, if like comes like my own skill set, would probably have to be backgrounds. That's why I'm always so like astonished when I see somebody else make a background. And it was like, how is that possible? How do you do that? That's probably what I struggle the most with in terms of like the pipeline for our own project. That's hard to say, really. In terms of, like what is like the hardest part. Um, man, I guess what I know that I have like the least experience in is audio. So like audio engineering, mixing and mastering, that's something that I have to get additional help for in terms of like how to understand audio and how that works.
Well, I agree on animate or like on backgrounds. I struggle with backgrounds really hard. But I also did mention that I don't like coloring, because it's just sort of at the end of making a scene, and I just want to be done with it. So it's sort of like bundle into that, where it's like, I just want to be done.
I'd say if I ever have to do tie downs, I want to like die. Like it's it's just clean up, but worse. So I might as well just go straight to clean up.
I think the most difficult part is the will to keep going. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so valid. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. Kirai Lazuli asked, where do you draw inspiration from regarding your ongoing projects?
Wander over yonder. Craig McCracken. You already know.
Cuphead.
Oh, I can totally
Um,
see that. That's cool.
Well,
Gravity
it's also like
Falls.
old Disney stuff and everything. It's a weird mix of things I love.
Yeah, Gravity Falls, One Piece, Supernatural, basically.
I was like, um, honestly, this is live action, but I really like Umbrella Academy. That's like a really big inspiration for my story.
I really like the OG Teen Titans and Monster High and
Oh,
My
Monster
Babysitter's
High.
a Vampire.
Oh, I love My Babysitter's a Vampire.
I love Monster High. Oh my god.
Mhm.
Cool. Fluffy Cute Candy said, I've heard that with character design, it has to be more simple in order to make them easy to animate. Do you guys think this is true?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I think there's
Unless you
benefits.
hate yourself, then yeah.
Make
There
an
are definitely.
illustration.
Oh, no, sorry.
Sorry, you go.
There are definitely benefits to having more simpler character design, but if you do want to go with more complex, at least make it like easy on the animators, like have
Yeah,
a
don't
minimal amount of like stripes or something.
Yeah.
just don't be doing like full-blown action sequences with like a super complex character unless you really want to. You might just be there for a couple months.
Yeah.
I guess like a
You
linked
wanted-
question that we didn't cover is, are you guys all hand drawing or rigging, or what methods are you guys using?
Hand drawing.
Hand
Yeah,
drawing,
hand drawing.
hand drawing, but if we get the chance to make more episodes, we'll probably switch over to rigged animation.
I hand draw with a mouse.
Oh my god.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't use a tablet.
All of
that's
Sinking
weird.
Road is made with a mouse? I'm gonna scream.
Yeah, because I tried a tablet and I didn't like it.
More
Please
power
do
to
wrist
you.
wrist stretches. Please take
Oh
care
yeah,
of your
oh
hand.
yeah, oh yeah. I stretch every day. Don't worry.
You might be superhuman, Moa.
I'm not trying to like be like, look at me, I'm so cool, but
No,
just
that's
kind
just
of like,
crazy.
I'm
That
just
is really
being
cool.
like, I'm just saying like, it's possible. Like if you prefer animating with a mouse, then like hell yeah, go for it. Just yeah, make sure to stretch. Yeah, it's true.
Cool.
Yeah, if you design a character, you have to do it in mind that you're gonna redraw this character over and over and over and over again. So I would recommend before you decide to give that character to your animators to draw, you animate them yourself. If you hate
Yeah.
animating them, they will hate animating them.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb, honestly. If it's like a character where you're just like, I'm exhausted, even like drawing them, then it's like, maybe not for animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to simplify a lot of the details to the point that you actually like drawing them.
KJ2K asked, or sorry, KJ2K Vortex asked, any best method of avoiding distraction when it comes to animating? So how do you guys focus in?
Work calls. I love sitting in calls and working with people.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh,
work
it's
calls are good.
really fun.
Or I just listen to music in another language.
I
I
love
actually
doing that
sort-
too. Such a good way to
I
not be distracted.
actually, I actually myself actually keep like a video, but I, tab it out so it's like really small. That kind of helps because it's like your peripheral vision is just like watching it and listening to it. You can kind of work with that as long as it
Oh.
doesn't distract you too much.
I sometimes just sit in the in a VC and then sort of trick myself into thinking that I'm streaming, so that I'm always on my feet. Like, oh, I gotta keep working so I look cool.
That's a good strategy. Streaming art is really anxiety inducing.
But it keeps you working, so hee.
Oh, yeah. Don't want to disappoint the audience.
Put on like say Nightcore song on loop.
You do what?
Just put the same Nightcore song on loop, like for hours.
I'll do it.
Hardcore.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Fluffy
was
Cute
great.
Candy wants to know, how much time do you guys spend animating a day? Do you draw till burnout? Are you limiting yourselves? You know, are you working this into a schedule next to a day job? What's that like for you guys?
I try to animate every morning before like all my American friends wake up. I try to animate for as long as I can in the morning. And then the rest of the day I focus on just other things like drawing and making music and all that other stuff. So yeah, it's sort of like I double animating with like other side personal projects pretty much. Just for fun, hobby stuff and on the side.
When I have like sometimes when I have time to like have a day job and I don't have having much afterwards, I try to spend like an hour or two and like speed run the shot in an hour or two and like teach myself to min max animation basically. 'Cause I'm so lazy.
Yeah. Same here. Pretty much when I have time, I just work.
I'm like in a similar boat, like where I do like a day job, like free. I guess typically just freelance or just like a full-time job. I would sort of set it up where I would have a couple hours out of the day to focus on like a personal work. If it's like a weekend or just like I have a full day, I kind of set it up a similar schedule where it's like an 8-hour shift with like breaks in between, but making sure that you still have those designated breaks where you can step away and just not think about work and just do whatever you want. It's really good to balance that of just personal well-being along with your own work.
For sure.
Through more questions to see what else we can answer. Someone said, Avid Gladiator said, working alone's daunting to me. I'm trying to interpret their question. I think they're asking, where do you look when you're trying to hire indie animators? Or what can indie animators do to get hired on indie projects?
Oh my god, that's my bread and butter.
Tell
Yeah,
us.
so yeah, most indie animations they tend to post on not LinkedIn, Twitter, sorry. But yeah, Twitter is where you'll find pretty much every indie animation job post. But in terms of look of like if you're just on the job hunt in general for animation, you have to sort of find all the niche spaces and the big spaces. So go on LinkedIn, search up hashtag animation jobs, go down that, and then go on like Twitter, search up looking for artists or 2D animator, storyboard artists. You want to sort through all the ones that aren't like schemazes or like free and stuff like that. Just find the paid ones. There's work with indies. There's gamejobs.work or something. I think that's how it is. What else? You can like find really hidden ones on Reddit as well if you give it a little search. Uh, hold up. Yeah, there's also the big spreadsheet of like the animation in the industry spreadsheet of jobs. I think you guys know what it is. I think that's like the
Yes.
most popular one. Yeah. Yeah, those are pretty much the go-tos for job posts and stuff. Like in my own production server, I have a Jobs Fast Losers TM server channel. I mean, I just put all my job posts I find there. So yeah,
guess weirdly enough, like word of mouth. Like I've met people or like gotten jobs simply because like you're like people just talk, like or just pull you onto a project. So I guess talking with people, definitely reach out to folks. I know that if you use LinkedIn, there are ways where you can connect and like talk to people. Um, talking to like recruiters and ask them like, hey, like what do you look in for like when you're looking at portfolios? Like what is like what you prioritize? Or like I'm interested in this type of position. I would like to know like what it is like that you find the most important to prioritize. And just like not just recruiters, but like also, you know, other people from like those jobs or like the same spheres. It's just really helpful insight when you're trying to build a portfolio or trying to work.
Yeah, just going to networking events and stuff. It's all really helpful. You get to meet people, and since this industry is kind of small as well, you tend to meet the same people at networking events. Yeah, and Discord groups, they often have like job channels as well as just like being really nice to share your work, get feedback from, and help each other out.
Yeah. I know for us on Lumi, we frequently like post like job recommendations like, hey, this is looking for this thing. So if any of you guys in this department want to try out your hand, go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know us indie animators and in indie studios, we can't quite. We're not really equipped to basically give you like full time incomes. So the best we can do is help you get full time incomes on the side.
Right, right. I mean, I do the same thing. I'm the showrunner, and I have like jobs out the wazoo.
Well, I think that's all we're going to do for audience questions. Do you guys have any closing thoughts you want to give on anything we covered today or just in general? And then we'll have each of you, you know, say who you are again and we'll sign off.
Maybe the animation was all the friends we made along the way.
Wow, so deep.
No, but what we've learned is well, we've learned a lot about composition. But then we've also learned that no matter what you can make and you can animate, you know? You can find a way
Yeah,
with a
and
team or alone.
yeah, you don't need any fancy programs. All you gotta do is just get program and start.
Hell, use
Yeah.
one of those post-it note things and just make a animation on that.
Yeah, that's
You just flip a
possible.
clip.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just grab your art program, get a free video editor, PNG sequence it yourself.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to start small.
Yeah.
Oh, so true.
Also pirate software.
Yes. Hello, I'm Evan. I'm the creator of Lumi and the Great Big Galaxy. Uh, if you like, we have like a Lumi plush available if you want to go grab it. Just head to the link on our Twitter page at latgbg.com, or just go to the Twitter with the same acronym. But yeah, thank you. Oh God.
You're doing amazing.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Netta?
Yeah, I'm Nada slash Neja. I'm the showrunner slash storyboard artist, lead, animation, whatever. Bit of everything for Heathens, which is about like a trio of friends who, you're also demons and they just fuck around and find out all the hell, and there's a lot of shit going on, and it's really, really fun. And if you like action comedy, dark fantasy, Western anime inspired stuff, check us out on Twitter and stuff. It'll be really cool and epic.
Great. Shannon?
Hi, my name is Shannon. I also go by Rose. I'm the creator of Revamped. Feel free to follow me on my socials. They all use the same username, Revamped Roses. About to hit 1,000 Twitter followers, so that would be nice. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Moa, also known as Baphomet the Clown, and I'm working on my own full animated movie called Sinking Road, and you can check it out, the process and everything, on my Twitter at Houndtown, or you can just search for the hashtag Sinking Road on Twitter to see any works in progress, or you can go to my YouTube and subscribe to hopefully see it when it comes out, hopefully in 2025.
Awesome. Maud?
So, all right. I'm Maud. I am the director and producer of Hearts of Titan. I'm also part of Capapon, and just check us out on Instagram. That's where we're most active. And go support Evan's plush. Go get Lumi.
Ooh, yeah. Pick up Lumi. Okay.
Oh my
All right,
god.
everybody. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Really appreciate y'all. After the stream, I will make sure that each of the YouTube channels associated with these studios or individuals will be in the description. If you have any extra comments that you want to leave for our creators or extra questions, you can leave those in the comments of the stream after we are done streaming. The recording of the stream will stay up on our channel. You can find it on the homepage. There's a playlist for the panels we've done so far, as this is the third one in a series of 4 that we're going to be doing this winter. And that's all we've got for today. Join us next week where we will be covering the animation pipeline and production management to close out the series. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight, and everybody say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, see you around.
Bye bye.
I love the horns so much.